you are listening to the Kinetic Man Podcast. I'm Stuart.
And I'm David, and we want to walk with you on the journey to living a life defined by uncommon action that is full of purpose, adventure, and meaningful relationships. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours, and together achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to leave the potential life behind and become kinetic men. Men. Kinetic Men Retreats. If you've not been to one, we're on our 4th iteration, September 27 through 29, Empire, Colorado. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You will come there, one man, you'll leave a changed man. You're going to be surrounded by a group of ninja individuals. You're going to eat. We're going to keep you active so that you don't get too fat because the food is amazing. You're going to be spoiled with just the level of the retreat. But I'll tell you, it is such a life-changing event that you are absolutely missing out if you do not participate in one of these events. So come join us. Go to thekineticman.com. Sign up. Be different. Be better. Do something. Get it.
What up?
Howdy, partner. How you doing?
Howdy.
How do you define success?
How do I define success?
Yeah.
A great question. For me, success, very succinctly, because I'm a big believer in labeling out the areas, but for me, success breaks into, in priority order, faith, family, friends. And what that looks like, excuse me, from a faith perspective is my relationship with Jesus, and success in that area is a little bit hard to define. Actually, in all these areas, it's hard to define, but what it really boils down to is the time, energy, and priority I bring to these activities. And so if I'm winning from a faith perspective, I'm going to church, I'm in the Word every day, I'm spending time in prayer, quiet time, and a lot of those things overlap. I'm spending time in the wilderness, doing things like fly fishing and spending time with God in ways that are very special to me, which typically happens, in the wilderness or with other people. With my family, a big part of that is presence. I am very intentional. The cell phone is not a distractor. We talked about this separately, and but just the idea of like no cell phones at dinner. We're doing family dinners together. The time is very, very intentional. You and I have built calendars around this. So I enjoy taking my kids in the morning to school. I enjoy getting them from school. So there's things that I have lined out very specifically, activities that I want to be doing, and I've built a calendar around those activities to try to honor those as much as possible. And then from a friend's perspective, like I'm doing stuff, you and I, again, this is calendar level success. We're doing our Thursday date day. We're doing stuff like last week which was so much fun. We volunteered up at the retreat site. I had a blast. Matt joined us, and just using chainsaws and tractors and just being together, laughing, making fun of each other, all that stuff, right? Like that stuff is very, very intentional. If that's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. And so we commit to these things beforehand, and no kidding, it makes calendars. So, really success for me, I should be able to open my calendar and you should see those areas that I just defined as being on my calendar. And I'm doing those things. And then there's the element of our businesses that, from us finding a way, making a way to have specifically the Kinetic Man be something that also produces income for us. But again, the income piece, it's funny because, and I just read a post before we got on here that Lyle mentioned. He mentioned this life that he came from, millionaire and hustle and grind. And he met a dude on a golf course who was anything but a millionaire, but was living the life that Lyle wanted. And so you look at the dichotomy of this guy that Lyle being a kinetic man in the mastermind with us, but this idea of success and money and cars, and I think he called it bottle service in Vegas. I don't even know what that is, but that idea of success versus this dude he met on the golf course, and all he wanted was that dude's life.
Yeah.
Who was golfing, was not, he said, I think he did not wait for retirement to start living. I think those are the words Lyle used. Beautiful post, man. I love it. But that, it challenges this whole idea of success, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to be that. I want to live the life that I'm living to the fullest, and the, you know, this idea that money and quote unquote success, that those things go together, is just I honestly, I'm going to say this, it's strong. I think that is a lie from the pit of hell. I do, because it robs us so much. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but money doesn't even play into any of my definitions. Very long definition. But again, I think the best way for me to really specify is no kidding. I've broken it down into these areas, and this is what winning looks like in all these areas. And to me, that's success. And the money part of it is two parts. One big part of what you and I love to do is give. So giving, and then the money just has to enable these other things that I love doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tool, right?
It's a tool, man. It's a hammer. It's a hammer.
Yeah. So, you know, the theme of our the Kinetic Man retreat that we just finished up beginning of May in Colorado was redefining success, and I think we came away with it and calling it success by redefining success, because the men that went to this retreat, a lot of them are kinetic men, some are not. But even the kinetic man, I think we all get wrapped up in this idea of success evolving around money, our careers, our jobs, the material things that we own, the trips that we take, and all these things. And our guest speaker, Brandon Jones, he has this, he focuses on what he calls human-centered design, and we're putting people at the center of the problem. And this problem of this definition of success being all around money. And he asked, like, all right, throw ideas at the wall, right? And he started writing them all down. What is, you know, give me one word that defines success. And money was the first one. Control, balance, freedom, giving, sacrifice, service, health. All of these were kind of words that kind of got put up on the sticky board. And then someone said relationships. And as you were talking about your definition of success, they all involve relationships. So what did he do? He put relationship at the very bottom of all these other words, circled it with arrows pointing to all of these things. Relationships are the key aspect to all of that stuff. And so the question was, what role does trust, vulnerability, and communication play in creating success? And so I think after this conversation that we had at the retreat, I think people have truly redefined success and understand that trust in relationships, being vulnerable in relationships, and having positive communication in relationships, those three roles, all involved in relationships, can truly define success for you.
Yeah, man. And I think it's so often lost. And again, we've highlighted this before, but this is not like David and Stuart or even Brandon Jones, like saying these things, saying these things about, our opinion. Like this is no kidding. Like this is stuff that is data driven. It is scientifically driven. It's psychologically driven. Like these are things, these are facts. And the facts state that money, and we all say it, oh, money can't buy you happiness. Like legitimately it can't. And people will like twist that up, be like, well, yeah, but it can help. It's better than being, poor and trying to pursue it. Like I get, there's all way to twist this around, but ultimately what it boils down to is relationships, right? That book I'm reading, The Good Life. I mean, it's almost 400 pages of just stories and data and questionnaires, and like it's all the stuff that you'd ever need to come to the conclusion that money just doesn't do it, right? And it's simple stuff. Like I just read this section about, things you can do, and one is having family dinner, like just sitting down to dinner together, and it highlights all the different things that happen at dinner. And if you can't do dinner, then breakfast, or right, just sitting around a table. The point is sitting around a table with family and friends, and what happens at that table. And a lot of it just boils down to the fact of being together, this relational thing, because there's a lot of people that die rich and alone, and like you just have to talk to them. Well, ideally you talk to them before they die, and just to understand how miserable of a life that just pursues money. And I don't want to disparage money, right? Like money can be a thing that that helps, and you can give, and you can empower, and you can enable. So I'm not a disparager of money in any way. What I'm a disparager of is the pursuit of money at all costs, the pursuit of money, an ignorant pursuit. You're ignorant to what you're losing in all this quote unquote gain and success. And so this relationship, this idea of relationship, it seems so obvious. It seems so obvious, but I mean, but just picture it, right? Just sit in it. So, would you rather be hugging a pile of money or like a person? Like it's not that hard, but our actions oftentimes betray these simple truths. And it's really not like you have all these opportunities in front of you that have nothing to do with money. And ultimately, you look at some of these blue zones, right? Like where these blue zones are, and in some cases are not really affluent areas, and oftentimes they're not affluent at all. And there's something there that brings so much joy, happiness, longevity, and it has nothing to do with the bottom line. And I'll tell you, it's interesting as we, in this country, man, we've just emphasized so much. We're like fighting against a powerful current of, this idea of the American dream and money and materialism and all this stuff. And it's really sad. And so like, creating this group, the mastermind, and this group of kinetic men to do something different, to be better, to be different, to challenge that has been a breath of fresh air. But man, it's very unique, which is kind of sad, right? The number of dudes in this group compared to the number of dudes out there is it's a fraction. It's a tiny fraction. And I think it could be very easy to get overwhelmed by just this, the lies. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I think a big problem right now is, we can talk about this study a little bit more. We've mentioned it a few times on some of our podcast episodes, but this study that Harvard did, this 80-year study that's continuing to ongo, and you've read a book about it. I have it on my list to read as well. But living in this society that we're in, like people are on this search for more wealth, and the problem is the more wealth you have, the lonelier you get, because it causes you to really be in more isolation. And we feel connected through like social media and stuff like this, but we're really not. Like we need deep connections, like in-person relationships. And now they're saying that loneliness is more deadly than like smoking cigarettes all your life. And there's this like these scientific studies now, from Harvard, that are saying that like, your physical health, your mental health, your happiness, like none of that is important as important as your social connectedness, relationships, like you're gonna live longer. Like there's so much community benefit, memory function, aging, There's empathy and attachment, like all these things, all this, important health areas of your life that are triggered by in-person social relationships. And so we did an exercise in the retreat that was incredibly powerful. And it's caused for us to continue to do this kind of stuff. And you wanna talk on it a little bit about your experience with that exercise?
Yeah, part of it is, there's it's multifaceted, but relationships, Reader's Digest of The Good Life is the book that Stu mentioned, and The Good Life is a book by the current chair and co-chair of the Harvard study, which is now in its 84th, 85th, whatever year, and continues to go on. And so to give it away, relationship is their conclusion, right? Like, relationships are truly what lead to the good life. And then they go way deeper than that into into the weeds in the book. But one of the other things, and a number of studies have also borne this out, is one of the best ways to pursue happiness is through the expression of gratitudes. And again, this is not the expression of, these are not like intentions, or these aren't affirmations, any of that kind of, this is not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, like, legitimately picking up the phone or going to see somebody and expressing true gratitude to those people, telling them why they are special to you and what it is why you feel such emotion towards them, and not holding back, right? Just being like, hey, I am so grateful for you because you've been an incredible friend, and be specific, or your wife, whatever. So, like, we had this exercise, and Brandon challenged everybody to, there were 4 columns, and it was, there was appreciation, gratitude, apology, and impact. And basically it was a paradigm. It was a framework to start writing names down in each of these columns, and how somebody, what you may appreciate about somebody. And then in gratitude, you write a name down of somebody, like, who you feel deep gratitude for whatever their impact in your life is. There's an impact section, and there's apology. Who do you need to say sorry to? And he made you, in that exercise, he made us pick that name, whatever column it was, and then to write a letter effectively to that person in that column that you chose. And then we went and called that person and read the letter, right? And it didn't have to be a 15-page letter. It was like most of us, I think we did it for like 15 minutes, 20, I don't even know how long we wrote it out. Like, mine was a page. And I wrote a letter to my wife, called her, within 2 seconds, was crying. She's crying. She's like, you can't do this. I'm home with the 3 kids, and you're calling here crying, making me cry. And now, like, it was an awesome moment. It was beautiful. It was funny. We laughed, but it was also special. And I felt amazing. We all came back to the room after that, and I don't know who everybody called. We didn't really go around and necessarily share that, but like, every dude there, 18 dudes, were all in some stage of crying, whether they had just finished crying or still had some tears, whatever it was. And not that crying is the goal, but crying is usually an outpouring of emotion. And it's really good for us. And so, again, the emotion was really good to be able to feel that gratitude. And so the exercise just really highlighted the power of gratitudes and making that a habit. And if you make a list like that, what the awesome part is, you now have a list of a bunch of people, ideally, and you have a lot of opportunities to do that, right? You have a lot of opportunities to just get on the phone and do. And this is not, don't text, don't Facebook message, don't post it. Like, that's all lame. Like, I'm just telling you, it's lame. Like, get on the phone or go to coffee or do something that you speak to the person, FaceTime, whatever it is, that you speak to them and let them know how you're feeling, and do this thing as close to in person as possible, because it was a beautiful exercise. And it's something that, he does every Thursday. He calls it Thankful Thursdays. But again, like, it feeds your soul, right? And again, studies have shown have borne out, like they did it in the moment. It's really interesting studies the way they set these up, but they've shown that people that do this regularly are more happy. And this book, The Good Life, also shows that the more people you have in your life, not the more, I shouldn't say the more, it's not the more, it's the depth of relationship. So when you have these relationships in your life and there's depth to them, that's where the true happiness comes from. And literally, like, it just doesn't, like, it doesn't equate to money. Like they because everybody thinks money, all these studies address that too, right? Like it talks about, I just read a section of this book that talked about some of the more, it was some of the less affluent, like not affluent at all, factory worker type people in this Harvard study, and the levels of happiness they had versus some of the most affluent people in the study. And they started breaking down why, though. And a lot of it boiled down to, in the factories, it was the people that they worked with. Like that's what a lot of it was. It wasn't so much the building car. They didn't love building cars in Michigan, right? They didn't love that. But the people that they worked with, there was meaningful relationship in that. And they were like, dude, they're off the charts happy. And they don't make a fraction of what the Harvard lawyers were making that were 2 times divorced and didn't know their kids, right? Like it just is what it is. I mean, 84 years of studying this, like it just is what it is. They're just now reporting the data. And so we should consider that, right, dude? Like we should, no
Yeah.
kidding, be like, what does success for me look like? Like most people do not ask that question. And it's different for everybody. I'm not saying that you should, if you're a lawyer, quit your job, sell your house and your car and whatever. Like I'm not saying that. But like if you ask the question, what does success look like, and you have partners in your firm that you've never established any relationship with, you don't even talk to them. Maybe there's animosity there because you guys have never taught, you've never just helped each other out, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't, just throwing it out there. But like the idea of going to work and making connections could change your entire perspective of work and what you're doing and the meaningfulness of that. But again, it's intentionality and it's defining, what does success look like? Is it just like bringing home a fat check? And how's that working out? Like if it is, like if your answer is default, yeah, it's making money. Okay, cool. How's that working out? Like, are you happy? Are you fat, overweight? You can't get on the floor with your kids and touch your toes because you don't work out? Like, that sounds miserable to me. Right. And
Yeah.
so if you're giving up your health to make a bunch of money only to turn around and spend all that money later in life to try to get your health back, right? Like that's like the joke. Man, you spend all this time, you spend all your health to make a lot of money only to get to the point where you spend all your money to get your health back. Like if that's the vicious cycle you're in, the sooner you acknowledge it, like that's awesome. That's rad. Like get to it.
Yeah. And you know, it's not it's not easy. I mean, it's easier for some than others. For me, like I would probably choose to just put my headphones in and listen to a podcast, on my own, or read a book, or kind of be in isolation. Because oftentimes that's what I like to do. But, if I was intentional about it, and instead of just listening to a podcast on the drive home, like actually pick up the phone and call somebody, make that a habit. Like when I did that with my wife, I wrote a letter, and when I did that to my wife, I mean, same thing, man. Like just pure joy, but on both sides, right? I actually, did this same exercise with my grandfather, and I wrote a letter to him, and I actually presented it to him, like I read it to him in person, to him. He's 96 years old. And he's had a major impact on my life. He's had a major positive impact on my life. And so I wrote a letter and I read that to him, and then I gave that to him. And dude, it was just as impactful for me than it was for him. And so we're making these type of challenges to the men inside our mastermind group. And Brandon called it Thankful Thursdays. We've added it to our list, put it on our calendar. Thankful Thursdays. We're calling people, and it makes an impact on you. Like you are a happier, more joyful person when you are have relationships that are deep and powerful and positive, and you're grateful for those.
Hmm.
And um,
Well, dude, and I'll tell you something. Like, I don't know why this popped in my head. Probably because I sent a few texts today, but this stuff, and I don't know if this is unusual or not. I'm not trying to like toot my horn, pat my back, anything like that. I don't know if this is normal. I don't know if it's not. For me, it's very normal. But if someone pops into my mind, like I'll either call them in the moment or I'll send them a text and say, hey, dude, I'm just thinking about you, like one man to another. Right? I don't say one man to another, but I'm saying as a man, I'm usually hitting up another dude and I'm like, and these aren't like all texts to you, like people I'm super close with. These are just guys that pop in my head. Like a guy popped in my head today that came to a couple of our or one of our events. We don't know him well, but he just popped into my mind. And so I sent him a text and I was like, hey, dude, I'm just want you to know I'm thinking about you and I hope you're well. Keep crushing it. That dude, I don't know if he's gonna be like, oh, that's kind of weird. A guy hit me up, barely knows me, he says he's thinking about me. Like, I don't know. I don't care. The bottom line is, uh, it's so easy now because it's so it's something that we do and that I do that it's not about, and I'm sure there's some kind of, endorphin or something that was released when I'm thinking about these guys and sending them text, but it's also letting people know out there that they're not alone. Like someone's thinking about them, right? Somebody's thinking about you. Somebody is grateful that you are alive and part of their life. And for me, it's so easy. Like it's just, it's just a part of what you do. And so the point of all that is it gets easier. If it seems daunting to like write a letter and call somebody, like don't write a letter. Like just pick up the phone and be like, hey, I think you're pretty rad, dude. Like, I just thought you should know. And that guy might be like, oh, this is weird. Cool. But like you just imagine if you were on the other side of that. Like you would appreciate it, dude. Like it'd make you feel good. Somebody's thinking about you. Like it just is normal and natural. We just have bastardized it and turned it into this thing that we're like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable to tell another man that I love him. Oh my gosh, because that's so weird.
yeah.
Like whatever, dude. Like get over
Well,
yourself.
you have
Like
to be a little bit vulnerable, right? And
you have
that,
to be vulnerable. Maybe they don't love you back, but I mean, okay, that's fine. Did it cost you anything? I mean, maybe it hurt feeling, I guess, but like, is it really? And you don't know the impact. Like, they're not going to tell you. But like, when's the last time someone was like, "Hey, dude, I'm thinking about you, and I think you're rad," and you were like, "Oh, you're a d bag. I hate you for saying that. Like, I hate you for thinking about me and thinking I'm cool." Like, no, dude, it's just not normal. And if that person responds that way, like that's a person you take off. You're like, dude, yeah, I don't want to ever be surrounded by somebody like that.
yeah.
Like that. I'm glad you told me that. Like you're off the list. Or it's somebody that you're like, man, I really know you need someone to love on you, man, because that's not a normal reaction. Like what you just did, there's something wrong with you. Like, let's talk about it. Right. Like it just is not, people don't respond that way. I've never had somebody get mad at me when I reached out and was like, hey, dude, I'm just thinking about you, man. I think you're awesome. Like nobody has ever been like, I hate you, Goody, for doing that. Like it's just not a thing. Um,
Well,
and so I don't know, man.
think about how much powerful like a business could be, or
Yeah.
like investors, your investors and your partnerships, and um, what if you treated your business partners like family, like your friends, and like you actually like show up and you are vulnerable with them and you tell them how you feel about them and you love on them and you communicate them in a way that it has meaning and purpose behind it, right? And it's not just a transaction, exchanging money back and forth between the two of you. Maybe there's like you actually like to hang out with them, and you tell them you love them, and like how much more like trust and like fun and deeper of a relationship that could be. And like, think about like a full business that has those type of relationships in it. Like, that's success.
But and if you don't have that, or if it's not a desire, or the people you're working with, you don't truly feel that, I think there's a ton of value in exploring that as well. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of value in being like, man, I don't like anybody that I work with. And like, I really dislike my investors quite a bit. Like, I think that's a very special place too, to maybe be a catalyst for change, for something maybe deeper, more profound. Instead of just continuing with the slog or whatever, or it could give you meaning, it could give you purpose. Like, there's so much, right? Like, there's just so much. The examine life, dude, it's just a very special thing. And what I truly believe is we all want what you just described. And I think, and I know for a fact we can all have that. So if you start asking a question and you realize you don't, maybe that gets you to a place where you can make a different decision and get to the place where you do. And now you just have a totally different dynamic about your life and who you are, and what you're doing, because it's defined, because you've redefined it. You've looked at it, you've explored it, you've done some work, and now you're truly pursuing and living in this place that you really want to be, which can be really, really special. And it can be really powerful. One of the stories they said is this dude who worked in a factory loved all the people and that he worked with, and his wife worked I think for like the municipality or something, and she loved the people she worked with, and they said they used to have these huge barbecues where they would invite all their people. This husband and his wife would invite all their people, and they'd have this big barbecue at least once a year. And the author said, I wonder how many marriages and romances resulted as were the result of those giant barbecues that they used to have. Like, these people from this group, they meet and whatever. And it just, the opportunities that are right there. His point was the opportunities that arise when you have those types of relationships, you bring people together, could result in things more beautiful than you ever imagined. And it just is the fact that you have these super rich relationships, man. Like, I have these visions now that we're out of the military, and I've gotten glimpses of these at other places we've been, where, our house, my wife put this thing out on Facebook in Maryland. I still remember, it's such a good memory. Lived across from a park, and she's like, hey, water balloon fight, Mago Vista Park, 12 o'clock, be there. And like, we ran our hoses across we filled these buckets up. We filled all these tons of water balloons and water gun. Oh, bring your water gun. We had these filling stations. Like, this was just like she's just like, oh, this sounds fun. I'm like, that sounds freaking rad. And dude, the number of people that showed up to the park was like, it was ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. Like, kids I didn't even know like 90% of these people. And you're just running around like blasting water guns and water balloons. And it was amazing. But what it showed me is that, like, you could do that. You could create that everywhere you go. You just make it an opportunity, right? And so I'm thinking about things in my neighborhood that I want to do, that I'm really excited about when we come back from our trip this summer, because like, it just is like, you just have to, you build it and they'll show up, right? Like, it's so true. You just show up, you build it. And like, if it's fun, like, people are going to show up, dude. They're just going to show up.
Yeah, man. I love it. It got me thinking, got my brain stirring. Just ideas that you can just put in place.
Brains stirring.
Brains a stirring.
But yeah, imagine if you had like the fun fund, right? Like, success to you was, let's just play this out. The success to me looks like my community, my neighborhood, in our cul-de-sac. All these kids show up on a Saturday. We got food trucks, we got blow up things, we got whatever. And it's just a few hours of just pure, just fun and community. Can you make that happen? Like, is that hard? Like, talk to a couple neighbors, be like, hey, let's set aside $100 a month, the 5 of us, for 5 months. So 5 people, $500 a month, 5 months, $2,500. You have $2,500 in 5 months with just 5 families. You tell me you can't get a couple blow ups in the neighborhood, jumpy castles and a food truck for $2,500. I don't know. You say you want to be freaking super baller, right? So you start at the beginning. So you start from summer to summer. Hey, one time next summer, we're going to have this big blowout bash. Let's get 10 families, $50 a month. That's what, $500 a month times 12 months. So you're at $6,000. What can you do at $6,000? Like, could you do that? Like, is it really like, is that impossible? Like, not at all, dude. And you could have a baller block party for $6,000, right? Like, and it's not that, and you just have to, hey guys, I just want to throw this out there. Just throw me $50 a month. We're going to set this fund up. Or you do it, right? Like, you have the fund that you're setting up. I'm going to fund this. I'm going to put $50 a month of my own money into this thing for 12 months. You know, that's not bad.
No.
And you could do something, right? $600, you know, you can, I don't know, get one blow up castle. I guarantee you, dude, you put a blow up castle in a cul-de-sac, like, kids are going to, there's going to be a line of kids. Dude, I go to my kindergartners. I go to lunch with them, dude, and these kids flock like little baby hen or little baby chicks behind a duck, just following me all through the, dude. Like, you put a blow up castle up in there, the kids are gonna show up and they're gonna have a blast, and it's gonna be memorable. It's gonna be awesome. You can do it. Anybody can do it. And is that success?
Yes.
Or just being in my house by myself and a pile of money? I don't know. You pick. But if you have a pile of money, pitch some my way, and then I'll invite you to our block party, and it'll be awesome.
So you can get into the bouncy house.
So you can get in the bouncy house.
I like it, dude. Hey, when this episode comes out, what I think would be really cool is when we post this on the socials, comment with some ideas on how can
I would love that.
You redefine success. Maybe it's in your neighborhood, maybe it's in your business, maybe it's within your family. Let's make a list of redefining success to create positive, stronger, better relationships.
Yeah.
Giddy
up.
Do it.
Give me money so I can get
bouncy
blow-up castles,
ducks and chicks and
little chicklets following me around.
Water guns,
water balloons. Nothing like hitting somebody else's kid in the face with a water balloon. Get it?
True joy. Bye now.
Yep.
Man, we have exciting news. We're opening up the next house of the Kinetic Man Mastermind. I tell you, it's the most important hour of the week that I go to, that I attend. I change every single week for the better to become the best husband, the best father, the best friend, and the best leader in our community. This is a time that you can choose to make a major impact in your life. Go to thekineticman.com and sign up. It's an application. It is exclusive. We are looking for the right man to take action and join us to be the hero of their journey. Come join us, thekineticman.com. Do it.
Thank you for listening to the Kinetic Man podcast. If you are growth-minded, community-focused, and willing to take uncommon action to redefine success and live an abundant life, visit our website at www.thekineticman.com to see all the ways we can connect.
Yeah, and on our website, you can find more information on everything we're doing, like joining our meetup page to get the details on our webinars and our local Thursday gatherings here in Colorado. From our site, you can also find more information on and sign up for the next Kinetic Man retreat and the next house of our mastermind group. Finally, we always appreciate your love and support. Please share this episode and go rate us on your favorite podcast player of choice.
Thank you again. Now go take uncommon action.